Hello everyone, welcome to another episode. In the show, we're going to unpack how to create scroll stopping ads for your business on Meta, which will be Facebook and Instagram. We had a good show. Gil, welcome, by the way.
Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah, man, we had a good show on what makes Facebook ads creatives convert, and we touched on, a couple of things around branded ads and, just user-generated ads and what works better. I think we had a lot of good comments on that, so I want to elaborate a little bit more. In today's show, we can talk about how to actually go about creating scroll-stopping ads for your business. Some key elements that people can take away in order to go and create their own ads that actually convert into sales, because I think that is the biggest lever someone can pull around their digital advertising that's actually going to make a difference in their business. I think people underestimate how important ad creatives actually are, because you can target the right people, you can say the right thing in the copy, but it's the creatives that's actually going to get their attention. And this is why we want to talk about how to get their attention, how to get them to stop scrolling, pay attention to the ad, and actually click through to convert into a sale. So where do we start?
So we start from the top and I'm going to use this term and I'm going to coin it smartphone ads. Basically what I'm referring to about smartphone ads are the new type of ads that we should be running. New, I simply mean these are likely going to be some of the best consumer ads that you put forward when you're running Facebook ads. These consumer ads or smartphone ads are very geared towards not necessarily looking like an ad, but getting people's attention because of the way they've been crafted. They've been crafted in such a way that they look like, I would almost say 80% of the content that people do share from personal profiles is created through their smartphones. So I term smartphone ads because it's understanding how users, consumers use the platform and how they themselves are sharing content using their smartphones, which in reality is the type of content that gets shared the most. It's literally the content that somebody picked up their phone, decided to, put a product in front of you and start recording it. Or it's I sitting here like this and I put my smartphone in front of me, balancing it somewhere and record. And that is the type of content literally that resonates. The reason it resonates is because it's something that they are used to seeing themselves as shareable content that they themselves would share. And so it will never immediately scream off as an ad. Remember, we're trying to also get into the news feed and avoid being overlooked because of the fact that we immediately pop out or stand out, or there's signals to say, this type of content I'm looking at is very perfect, looks very clean, it looks choreographed, it looks like, there was a big budget behind it of people coming together and moving in a certain rhythm or being choreographed to act out a certain way. I'm not really, I don't engage much with this. I engage with the stuff that's pixelated and is funny, or possibly you see a cat running around and, jumping through hoops and laughing, cat videos and things like that. That's the type of content they're used to seeing, because that's the type of smartphone content that people actually create and share. So it's getting to understand that users want and generally do react and respond and engage with content that looks more like the type of content they would create.
100%. That makes so much sense, dude. The flip side of that might be, some people might be saying, well, if everybody sees this in their news feeds all the time, how is this really going to stand out?
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing it all day and I might run the risk of banner blindness. So we understand that people don't really want to see all of these heavily designed, overly edited kind of creatives and ads anymore, because that immediately tells you it's a brand trying to sell you something. That's just what that immediately alludes to. Whether the message says that or not, it's just psychologically that trigger just goes boom, I'm getting sold to, I'm going to scroll. And I think that's the first part of this conversation, is like, you don't want to do that because it's going to increase the cost per click, which is then going to lead to the cost per sale increasing, and then it's going to drop the ROAS, which eventually means that you're going to make less profit on the actual acquisition. And this is where people get annoyed. They're like, my Facebook marketing team is not working, they're not doing their job because we've got all these amazing ads. I was like, listen, you can target whoever you want to target. You can have the best targeting optimization strategy in the world, you can have the best technical team on it, but if that creative is subconsciously telling people that they're going to get sold to and it's not something that they want, then it's just not going to convert. So with that said, we kind of get why the overly designed ads is really most likely not the best way to proceed for small to medium sized businesses, especially if you're looking to lower your cost per sale and increase your ROAS. But then the question is, well, if my newsfeed is full of this kind of stuff, how do I really stand out and avoid banner blindness under my target market?
Yeah. So here's the thing about that as well, is that in a stream extreme where everybody's doing video content that looks very similar, there are a couple of elements, that you could do to your videos that will help you stand out. So for example, if you see a stream of videos where there's no text overlay on it to call people out for the specific call to action, and you do see a video which actually has text overlay with a call to action, the video quality can look very similar to all the other videos, but all the other videos never have a massive thumbnail in front of it, or don't have a text overlay as a call to action button, or they don't have anything creative over that video initially when they first see it. There are elements like that you can actually employ. There's a lot of video editing tools that you can even get on your smartphone and literally edit over videos so that you can make it stand out. So one big thing that a common one is actually having video thumbnails to make it stand out, and those video thumbnails actually act as a way to call out your audience so that when they do come into contact with your video, they see whether this is for them or not. They're going to scroll past if it's not for them because it calls out designers, the unlocking the secret to design in 10 seconds. So I'm a designer, I'm going to scroll past that. But also if that video thumbnail wasn't there, it might just typically look like another video, and it might not even get to resonate with the person that it's supposed to because there's nothing that was actually calling it out. However, those are small little elements that you can actually do. So overlays on your videos to get people's initial attention first is one way of actually getting that video to resonate.
Yeah, I think we underestimate how many people have turned off autoplay on their Facebook feeds. Like I only have it on if I'm on a Wi-Fi network. So if I'm on my data, then everything is just static until I decide that I want to click. Actually, sometimes when I'm on Wi-Fi, I consciously turn it off because I easily get sucked into watching videos I don't need to watch at that time because it's just going to waste my time. So I literally turn autoplay off, and many others do the exact same thing, which is why you saying the thumbnail is so crucial.
Exactly. And also I think the other point is just to make there is videos with subtitles, because you're saying like you don't have autoplay, but then again there's situations where a lot of people can't even listen to the video. They can't listen to the audio because they're at work, or they're sitting in a place where they can't actually hear anything. So subtitles, actually having those in your videos, also help an individual to actually want to play it and get through the video, because then at least they can just read the subtitles and get through the video, as opposed to you not even having subtitles. Now they're looking at this video like, I don't know what this is really about. I'm just gonna skip past and scroll on. So having subtitles, for example, another element in your videos that would actually capture people's attention, because they know that they can actually read and they don't have to necessarily put it on audio because they can't, maybe they depending on where they are at that given time. So there are elements like these that you can employ in terms of, and of course you can have things that get people's attention, comical videos. Everybody loves a good joke, a good laugh. So it's also the type of video that you want to create. So comical videos. We also know about educational videos. If it's really insightful and informative, then those are the type of videos. We've seen videos where the thumbnail looks like it's a breaking news story, right? But also this is the thing, like you don't really think it's an ad because it literally says breaking news. We've tested those, right? And it's those thumbnails that differentiate those type of videos and ads to everything else that you would typically see. And so there's all these different elements that can go into creating videos that still stand out, even though it's recorded on a phone, right? And I think those are the points that can help you at least get attention.
So smartphone ads will resonate with people better. A thumbnail will most likely grab their attention.
Yep.
And for the people who have autoplay on, I think maybe let's just touch on that first 5 seconds of the video that's so crucial. Actually, the first 3, that hook. And this is where you're saying is like, if you have autoplay on, it's really that first 3 seconds essentially that's really going to stand out, because you might then decide whether you want to turn the sound on or off. Because my sound is always off. On Instagram, you can tap it off, and then obviously you can tap it on when you want. And I always turn it off until I actually see a video that I want to engage with and I want to listen to, and then I turn it on. So those first 3 seconds is really what is going to retain that attention and get them to go, okay, I really want to watch the rest of the video. There was an interesting study. I think it was like 90% of people don't watch past the first 3 or 4 or 5 seconds. So it means that the first 3 seconds, if you're not really connecting the dots between the thumbnail and keeping their attention and getting them to psychologically understand what this video is actually about, and making sure that there's a strong connection between the thumbnail and what you're about to advertise or say, or the message that you're trying to get across. Because if there's a huge disconnect, people are going to go, the thumbnail said this, the video started in a completely different direction, therefore I'm not resonating with it, I'm probably getting clickbait. So it's like, I knew it was just another clickbait article. So you want to avoid that, because you can have the best thumbnail in the world, but the first 3 or 5 seconds of that video is not directly correlated to that thumbnail and is not holding their attention and getting them excited. People are going to drop off as well.
And I think on your point, more at a psychological level, it's looking at what do humans respond to, right? They respond to news stories or something shocking, something new and informative that they didn't know about. about, something that is going to literally have them in shock if you had to give them a stat. There's reports saying that human beings respond to statistics, very specific statistics. So if you had to say in your thumbnail, 97.5% of people don't know this about weight, that's very specific. 97.5%. They look at that as somebody who must have done research very thoroughly to get to 97.5%. And so it's those type of things where I get people's attention to be like, whoa, okay, this must be really specific. Let me understand and see what it's about. So I think it's also just having an understanding of what human beings tend to respond to. We all know negative news has a very, responsive rate, especially, just think about bad news in the news that you might hear. It's always going to have someone's attention because they want to know, like, is this going to affect me? Like, how am I being affected by this? Maybe I should be scared. And, it acts on fear. Stats, headlines where it's about news stories, potentially, making it seem as if it's a news story in certain ways, and new information that potentially might actually, help someone if they learn from it. But typically, when you're looking at that first 3 seconds, it's important to focus on that benefit-driven headline or caption that is going to grab someone's attention when they have to look at it. Because at the end of the day, when you see a video, you're asking yourself, what's in it for me if I actually have to watch this? So if you're giving the benefit of, let's say, using your product 10 seconds down the line, that benefit will never actually be revealed at all. You've literally got to start it from the beginning. I don't want to use a cliche and essentially use a typical fat loss, but lose belly fat in 3 days. That's in the first 3 seconds, right? That's something. 3 days? What? How? You know what I'm...
Possible,
again, it's a bit hyperbolic, but you get the point. It's those type of thumbnails and headlines that will get people's attention. And then from there, it's a matter of ensuring that you've now created this anticipation for what is to come. In order for you to hold their attention, it needs to also match up with your initial headline and thumbnail that you actually caught them in the first place with. And so that, like you said, after 5 seconds, they're not even going to bother. So you've literally got to get your hook within that first 5 seconds, and that hook better be benefit-driven headline or have them react in a very, emotionally tense way possibly, so that they feel like they have to watch this video in order to address maybe a pain point in their life, or in order to change their life, they need to do something specific that your video will reveal for them to live a better, healthier, whatever the case may be, life might be. So absolutely important to make sure that within the first 3 seconds, it's grabbing people's attention, and then just ensuring that the rest of the video is all aligned with what you've put together.
Yeah, man. And I've been doing a ton of research on, I would say, shorts and organic content and YouTube content. And I've been on this journey now for the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 months, because my background is very paid ads driven, funnel building, direct response, automations in the back, sales systems. And I am now embarking on this organic journey. And I've bought a bunch of courses, and I've reached out to a bunch of people in my network and asking them, where are you learning, the shit from? And eventually there was a couple of courses I've bought, and all of them talk about watch time. And it's so fascinating that most of the videos we watch, the percentage of people who actually watch the whole video is I think it's between 1%, if 3% if you're lucky. Now that means that if you get 100 views, there's most likely only 1 to 3 people who are going to watch the whole video, whether it's 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And the hook obviously gets them to watch the first 5 seconds, but then you also need to keep them entertained with that ad that you're creating. And it's really about, having certain things in the video be direct and concise to the point, what you want to articulate. The moment you go off into, digressing from the main topic, people drop off and they go, this is not applicable to me anymore. You're taking the conversation in a whole different direction. And meanwhile, the main call to action might have been at the end of that video, but because you digressed a little bit, for 5 seconds, it's really a matter of people going, oh, this is not me anymore, and they leave, and they never actually get to the proper call to action. And I've just been enjoying learning how the algorithms work, because the longer the watch time is on the video, the more the algorithm is going to push that into other people's feed. If you can create ads, and this is actually the conclusion that I'm trying to make, is that if you can create ads that will ensure a high watch time, the algorithm is going to favor your ad above everybody else's ads. There was this Temu that's coming into the marketplace.
Yeah.
So essentially, a lot of people are complaining, about how they're outbidding them and on Google, and they're doing this and that. But Facebook, for example, Meta and TikTok, they can spend all the money in the world in order to force their budget into people's feeds. That's possible. And I read a comment that said, all of these algorithms are favoring big budgets. That's not actually true. I mean, we know that Facebook doesn't necessarily work like that. It favors ad content over the ad budget. And we've actually seen the more you spend, the lower your actual ROAS gets, the lower the CPA gets. So you need to innovate around how you optimize and strategize from a creative standpoint and a targeting standpoint in order to ensure ensure that that ROAS remains healthy. And what we've seen is if you can create ads that is consumable through a psychological process of seeing something that people see all day long, that they enjoy at least seeing all day long, that is a format of ads which you call smartphone ads. But at the same time, if you can ensure that you keep people engaged by being concise, straight to the point, keeping them curious, maybe having some form of entertainment, keeping it interesting, you will have a higher watch rate, which will also mean that the algorithm will favor you, which means you will have a lower CPC and a lower CPA at the end of the day as well.
Facebook actually favors the consumers of Facebook. So as much as people might believe that it's bigger budgets, no, Facebook actually favors the consumers, and it's the consumers that are essentially dictating what gets seen in front of them. Because like you're saying, to your point again, it's the content that's coming through that they're engaging with the most. Higher watch time. When you create those videos that are essentially going to get a lot more views on it, that is what Facebook wants. Because why? It needs to keep its users on the platform for as long as possible. That is ideally what Facebook centers everything around. They've always said that we favor the users more than we do the advertisers, because at the end of the day, if we lose the users, then there's nobody to advertise to. So as much as it might look like there's this big budget and they're just going all in and they're the ones being favored, no, not exactly, because to your point, the algorithm favors things like watch time, and the more you can increase that, you can technically outbid and you can technically outplay Temu if your watch time is higher than that.
Because now Temu's going to pay, you're going to pay R1 to get in front of that customer, and Temu's going to have to pay 10 to 20.
Exactly.
And yes, they have bigger budgets, so they'll most likely get to that consumer, but it won't be at your expense necessarily, because your ad is just better. I think we need to understand that every single channel out there, YouTube, Meta, TikTok, Meta being Facebook and Instagram, every one of them have their own psychological behavior from a consumer's perspective. I don't go to YouTube if I only have a few seconds to burn time. Like that'll be, what am I going to do? Like I won't get any value out of YouTube if I was standing in a queue at a bank. I was literally this next person in line to go to the teller. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be silly for me to go onto YouTube, because there's going to be no value, because any second I'm going to be cold, which means I'm going to dive into a video that I know psychologically is going to be a long form format, because the average video on YouTube is between 8 to 15 minutes. And if you're an amazing content creator, the watch time on that will be between 20 to 30. Some people say if you can get to 50%, you're going to do really, really well. But you have to keep people engaged for that time frame. But it's understanding that people go to YouTube for long form content, number one. And when you in that same bank and you are the second person or the third person in the queue before you have to have the opportunity to do what you need to do, then you're most likely going to pull out TikTok, because psychologically TikTok is quick and short. Or you're going to pull out maybe an Instagram. You might pull out Facebook. There's nothing wrong with it. You might just scroll and see what's happening. Depends on your preference. But what I've seen is the average videos on Facebook are between 3 to 5 minutes. On Instagram, it's between 90 seconds, and same with TikTok, it's between 30 and 60 seconds. So TikTok is the shortest format. Then there's Instagram, then there's Facebook, and then there's YouTube. If you had to have a graph that would draw up these channels in terms of average video length, it'll be TikTok, it'll be Instagram, it'll be Facebook, and it'll be YouTube. And that's just how people are psychologically now engineered to use these platforms, whether they're consciously aware of it or not. And I think it's an unconscious behavior. It's just, I know I'm not going to go to YouTube because I'm going to waste my time if I only got 30 seconds, but I might get a little bit of laughter out of TikTok for the next minute or two.
No,
so 100%, it's 100% still applicable in my opinion. And I think if you were referring to what ad length is best on a platform like Meta or TikTok, for example, I don't think your ad should be any longer than 90 seconds. That is my, I mean, I don't have exact data to prove this, but I'm saying you need a good thumbnail, like you suggested. You need a really good hook. You need to keep people entertained. Make sure the ad is not longer than 90 seconds, ideally between 30 to 60. Get to the call to action as quickly as possible. Get to what you're trying to do as quickly as possible. That's what it's all about. And if you can do that and you make the ad look like something that it doesn't look like an ad, then people are not going to feel like they're being sold to. They are going to be engaged. They are going to be convinced that it's something worth checking out by clicking through to the website, and you might end up with a lower CPC. You will most likely end up with a lower CPC, a lower cost per sale, and a higher ROAS. So there you have it. Thanks for your time today, my brother.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really enjoyed it. For those out there watching, listening, if you found any value in this, please consider liking and subscribing. And that is obviously if you want more content like this. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day. All the best. Bye.